What's happening, everybody? On today's show, is Lane Kiffin really going to Auburn? We'll get you the latest on the news there. We'll also get you caught up on all the latest headlines heading into rivalry week across the SEC. Locked on SEC starts right now.
Are Locked On SEC, your daily podcast on the Southeastern Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And what's happening, everybody? Welcome into Locked On SEC. It's great to have you guys along. Today's episode is brought to you by Upside. Download the free Upside app and use promo code LOCKED to get $5 or more cash back on your first purchase of $10 or more. I'm Chris Gordy. Thanks for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. Remember, Locked On SEC is free and available on all platforms, including YouTube and at LockedOnSEC.com. Let's jump into it. Let's go around the conference.
Boots out to the right. Makes the handoff.
Around the conference.
And basically, this whole first segment, we're going to spend on the latest Lane Kiffin rumors. If you missed it, there have been rumblings for the past week that Lane Kiffin is very much flirting with Auburn. There have been reports that Ole Miss has put a new contract on Lane Kiffin's desk, a contract that would make him among the highest paid coaches in college football and lock him up long-term to stay at Ole Miss. Now, the only reason Ole Miss would do this is if there was a real threat that Lane Kiffin was going to leave. And a lot of people believe that Auburn is coming hard after him. Now, understand the intricacies of how these coaching searches work. The agents do a lot of the work. A lot of folks with the university do a lot of this work. The coach himself doesn't have much say or meetings or anything with this stuff in the early processes. Thus, we start with a tweet that came out on Monday evening from a guy by the name of John Sokoloff, who is a Mississippi State reporter. And John tweeted this: breaking news, Ole Miss head coach Lane Kiffin plans to step down as the Rebels coach Friday and head to Auburn to be the Tigers' next head coach, according to sources. Now, he goes on to say, sources say the Tigers have not officially offered the job to anyone yet. So Lane to Auburn is happening. John is a sports director, WCBI News, covering Mississippi State, Ole Miss, and high school sports based out of Starkville, Mississippi. John went on to put up an article on his website, which he linked to his Twitter account. And again, in the article, it says sources say Ole Miss head coach Lane Kiffin is planning to step down Friday, become the next head coach of Auburn. Moments ago, sources in the Ole Miss athletic department denied that report. Sources have not yet offered the head coaching position to any time. Ole Miss, Mississippi State playing the annual Egg Bowl on Thanksgiving night. So it's a report. A lot of people were taking it and, saying, okay, sounds like this is a done deal because of the rumblings that have been going on here and, coaching the Egg Bowl on Thursday night. And then it's going to go hop on a plane and head on over to Auburn and become Auburn's next head coach. Well, Lane Kiffin, being the jokester that he is on Twitter and having the great social media presence, he saw Sokoloff's report, quote tweeted it, and said, "That's news to me, John." Facepalm emoji, nice sources. And then it looked like emojis for no, the devil, a chair, dinner plate, maybe trying to say rat poison. I don't know what he's trying to say there, but that's what Lane Kiffin tweeted. And then, about an hour later, Lane Kiffin comes back to Twitter with a screenshot of a piece of paper he typed up with an alert that says, "This just in, breaking news, John Sokoloff of WCBI News in Starkville plans to step down as lead anchor and head to WLOX to become their new lead anchor. Sources say WLOX hasn't offered the job to anyone yet, so John to LOX is happening story soon. Again, Lane is a jokester and did that to troll. But again, none of this means that there's nothing to this report, right? I mean, both sides are going to deny the report, and we're going to find out. We're going to find out whatever happens in the Egg Bowl on Thursday. Maybe we have to wait until the Iron Bowl is played out on Saturday. But again, take it for what it is. I think Auburn wants Lane Kiffin. I think he's on, their short list of candidates. I think John Cohen would like to have him, but nothing is imminent, and it sounds like nothing's been agreed to or signed or anything like that yet. So time is going to tell, but Lane Kiffin, a lot of people think Ole Miss's poor performance over the weekend against Arkansas, maybe he wasn't as focused. Maybe he didn't have the team as focused because he was focused on other things. Again, time will tell, and we'll find out in the next week if Lane Kiffin truly has interest in the Auburn job and if Auburn truly has interest in Lane Kiffin. If they want to go another direction, if they want to have a nice, long, drawn-out process of a coaching search and interview candidates, all that is coming in the coming days. But that's the latest of where we are right now. It's a lot of trolling, and it's a lot of unsubstantiated reports. But again, some people saying that Sokolov, being in Starkville, is close to John Cohen. Maybe he's got sources close to John Cohen, if not John Cohen himself, and putting that out there. So we shall see. But Lane Kiffin to Auburn, is it happening? Is it not? We're going to find out in the next coming days, folks. So that is the latest on where we are. And excited to talk with our buddy Zac Blackerby, hopefully some point this week, to get his thoughts on what's the Auburn fan base reaction if they are getting Lane Kiffin to come to the Plains. Certainly keep you up to date, all the latest there. All right, we need to get you caught up with all the other stuff going on around the conference. Oh, by the way, Auburn's head coaching search, still getting a lot of attention. And AL.com Auburn beat writer Nubias Wilborn, he was on the Paul Feinbaum show to kick off the Iron Bowl week, and he commented on the possibility that Auburn could name a head coach on Friday. So again, this would kind of fit the Lane Kiffin model. Certainly Hugh Freeze is another name that's in the mix there that Auburn could hire. And if Lane Kiffin leaves Auburn, Hugh Freeze could go back to Ole Miss. So there's a lot of possibilities there. And again, we'll continue to keep an eye on this and try to keep you guys up to date with everything. Thank you guys again for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. Coming up next, we'll go around the conference with all the news that you need to know and get you caught up on everything as we head into Rivalry Week. But first, this episode is presented by our friends at the Upside app. Inflation has us all thinking about things differently, different ways to cut back, whether it's driving less, dining out less, or buying less from the grocery store. We can all agree there is nothing fun about less. That's why we started using the Upside app. Upside, an incredible app for anyone who buys gas, groceries, or dines out. With Upside, we don't have to cut back because we get cash back on every purchase. To get started, download the free Upside app. Use our promo code LOCKED to get $5 or more cash back on your first purchase of $10 or more. You claim an offer on whatever you're buying on Upside. You check in at the business. You pay as usual with your credit or debit card, and you get paid. Upside users are earning more than $1 million a week. That's probably why they have a 4.8 star rating on the App Store. Download the free Upside app and use our promo code LOCKED to get $5 or more cash back on your first purchase of $10 or more. That's $5 more or more cash back on your first purchase of $10 or more using promo code LOCKED. This episode also brought to you by our friends at the Tax Act Texas Bowl, Houston's biggest college football event, coming back December 28th with the Tax Act Texas Bowl. Don't miss out on your chance to be a part of the passion, the pageantry, and the fun as the college football season draws to a close with the Big 12 taking on the SEC in a primetime showdown at NRG Stadium with conference bragging rights on the line. Tickets go on sale Sunday, December 4th at taxacttexasbowl.com, but you can visit the website today and join the priority wait list now to get your first chance to buy tickets and exclusive discounts. taxacttexasbowl.com. Tailgating, live music, great food and drinks, and the spirit and energy that makes college football so much fun will be on full display December 28th in prime time at NRG Stadium. Look, we don't know who's playing yet, but we kind of have an idea of whether it's Arkansas, whether Mississippi State, throwing out some possibilities there. Mizzou, we don't know, but we'll know very soon. But go get on that priority wait list just in case it's your school going to the Texas Bowl. It's taxacttexasbowl.com for all the details. Sign up for the priority wait list, taxacttexasbowl.com. Roll along here, locked on SEC, and trying to get you guys caught up with all the stuff heading into week 12 of the SEC rivalry week, where basically it's kind of depressing. The whole season's coming to an end, but this will be the fun time where we get all the the regular season comes to an end, but we get ready for bowl season, and we got recruiting going on. We got the transfer portal. We got coaches leaving for new jobs, all that kind of stuff. So we got tons of stuff to jump into. So let's go back into it as we continue going around the conference. So we'll start over at Georgia as head coach Kirby Smart has been hopeful to get wide receiver A.D. Mitchell back since he came down with an injury during the game against Samford earlier this year. Smart describes Mitchell as similar to the way he was in previous weeks. Said he was able to reach some speeds, do some running, but he wasn't able to practice with the team. That's the goal each week, to get him out there 11 on 11 and do some reps. Saw limited action in the win over Auburn back on October 8th, but has not dressed out or played in a game since. So we'll see on A.D. Mitchell. Meanwhile, Kirby considers this Georgia Tech game an important rivalry for the Bulldogs. Of course, clean, old-fashioned hate. At his Monday press conference, Smart said, it's what this program's biggest rivalry was many, many years ago when they were in the SEC. Our kids don't know that history. They don't know the history of this rivalry. It was a really big rivalry over Paul Johnson's years because of the triple option and playing something different, the physicality of the game. I think educating our players on this rivalry so that they understand it. Smart was also asked if the rivalry has shifted since he's been the head coach. He said, no, it's still a big rivalry. It may have shifted from the dynamic of what their offense used to be because it went from one extreme to the other in terms of style. But again, Georgia's going to be a heavy favorite over Georgia Tech this weekend. But Kirby says, hey, it's still a rivalry game. Meanwhile, over at Alabama, Nick Saban announced Monday that cornerback Kyrie Jackson has been suspended. Did not give the reason why. Jackson did not travel to Ole Miss, was not seen at the Austin Peay game after he appeared in the first 9 games of the season. He was a transfer from East Mississippi Community College, had 7 tackles this season, 2 pass breakups throughout his college career with Alabama. The Crimson Tide set to play their final game in the Iron Bowl, 2:30 Central on CBS on Saturday. Meanwhile, Bryce Young and Will Anderson could be playing their final game in Alabama uniform. Both players talking with the media on Monday. Bryce Young said, look, as far as me thinking about my future, I take everything one day at a time. So I've been focused on throughout the year has been the next opponent. And this is a huge game for us. It means a lot to me, to the people in the entire state, to us as a team. This is a big one. Will Anderson kind of said the same thing. He said, I haven't made any decisions yet on my future. Just been really focused on this season, continue to be a good leader, make sure I'm showing guys the right way of how to do things around here. Playing in Bryant-Denny Stadium has been fun. So many memories. I just want to keep those memories going. So neither guy talking about their future, but look, they're both expected to be top 10 picks in next year's draft. Probably going to be the last time they play in Bryant-Denny Stadium. Meanwhile, over at LSU, Brian Kelly and the LSU Tigers having a great season. They are getting ready for their game against Texas A&M. And after all their great success this year, defensive coordinator Matt House getting some recognition and some looks and some attention. Brian Kelly was asked about how do you hold on to a guy like Matt House who has been so good, and what if he gets offered a head coaching job somewhere? He said, look, if he gets an opportunity that will better him, I will help him in any way possible. That's the profession. I would never stand in the way of someone wanting to be a head coach. He also said he thinks House and his family are happy in Baton Rouge, so we'll see Matt House sticking around long term. They will take on Texas A&M Saturday night in College Station. Meanwhile, over at Arkansas, Sam Pittman talking with the media, and they're going to lose some depth in their offensive backfield. Freshman running back James Joyner Jr. announced he is entering the transfer portal, writing on social media. It was a childhood dream to be a Razorback. Said, my time at Arkansas will be with me forever, and the state of Arkansas will forever have a special place in my heart. Last week, redshirt senior Warren Thompson left the team, and so yet another teammate heading into the transfer portal. Meanwhile, over Tennessee, Josh Heupel deflected a question about Jeremy Banks' availability last week against South Carolina as they prepare to take on Vandy this week. Heupel was asked if Banks got into an altercation with a teammate. Was he suspended on Saturday? Is he available this week? Heupel said, we anticipate Jeremy being with us this week. As far as what transpired, those type of things, at the end of the day, he just wasn't available on Saturday. Banks previously said on Instagram, it wasn't about no conflict. Banks in recent weeks has shown why he's one of the better linebackers in the SEC. Over at Texas A&M, Jimbo Fisher trying to get his troops rallied to try to, put a damper on LSU season if they could find a way to win. Jimbo Fisher gave an update on Devon Achane and Evan Stewart being available for this game. Both missed last week's game against UMass. Fisher said he's very optimistic that both would return for the season finale on Saturday, adding that Achane and Stewart are both pushing and working hard. He said, I can't say for sure, but I'm very optimistic. Meanwhile, over at Mizzou, Eli Drinkwitz, they're getting ready to take on Arkansas on Friday. And, of course, one of their biggest assets is quarterback KJ Jefferson being back. And Eli Drinkwitz said, look, golly, I hope he's graduating or going pro. Doesn't want to see many more years of KJ Jefferson. Arkansas and Mizzou are set to play 2:30 Central on Saturday. Over at Kentucky, Mark Stoops, fresh off his new contract with the University of Kentucky, will give him a raise if he were to leave the program. Guarantees a $9 million per year salary starting in February 2023, going through June 2031. Speaking about AD Mitch Barnhart, Stoops said the contract should speak for the commitment on both sides with the school. He said, I know I'm committed to being here. I hope this proves it, and we'll see what Mark Stoops can do in the years to come at Kentucky. And lastly, Billy Napier and the Florida Gators getting ready for their rivalry game against Florida State. Napier is preaching patience to Florida fans. He gave a message to the fan base on Monday saying, look, one day at a time, one person at a time, we're going to get it done. We're like many staffs in the history of this game. We're in year one with a lot of work to do. He added that Florida's a team that can be very average, and he said they're trying to be elite, and that consistency is what they're searching for to close the season. So Billy Napier saying, patience, everybody. Have a little patience with me. And there you have it. This is the latest news going on around the conference. Thank you guys again for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. Coming up next, our buddy Zac Blackerby is going to join us for a little crossover talk, host of Locked On Auburn. That's coming your way in just a second. But first, this episode is presented by BetOnline. BetOnline.net is your number one source for sports betting information, stats, news, and analysis. They got all the odds on all the rivalry games happening this weekend, so you need to go check them out at BetOnline. They got everything you want from football. We're getting the basketball season now. They got you covered at BetOnline.net. They got sports podcasts as well, and it is always the fastest and easiest way for you to get your betting fix. Head on over to their website today. You're looking to get in on the Iron Bowl. You're looking to get in on some old-fashioned clean hate. Whatever it is, you can make it happen this weekend at BetOnline. Go check them out. You can do so on your mobile device. BetOnline, it is where the game starts. Going along here, Locked On SEC, and why not a little crossover talk with our buddy Zac Blackerby, host of Locked On Auburn. And Zac, we talked about it earlier in this episode, but man, what a night it was Monday evening as we see a report that Lane Kiffin is going to step down as Ole Miss coach on Friday. He's going to be heading to be the head coach at Auburn. And Lane decided to have a little fun with one John Sokoloff on Twitter. But how are you, man? Where are you right now? What are you thinking right now?
Oh, I'm excited. I'm excited about what the future could potentially hold with Lane Kiffin being Auburn's next head football coach. And I think the way he's kind of handled this news breaking, whether he was okay with the timing or not, and I guess whether the report is true or not, the fact that he's enjoying kind of playing around with it, I think that's what Auburn fans should expect with Lane Kiffin. The Auburn fan base is kind of known for what they do on social media, right? It kind of became popular with the meme bombing that the Auburn basketball fans did, kind of really picking up last year, and it kind of just gained traction from there. I think Lane Kiffin from the meme culture will definitely fit in. But as far as what he can do as a head football coach, Auburn fans want that even more, right? The last guy they went out to get, Brian Harsin, he had an impressive resume, but no P5 action. It was all G5 stuff in the Mountain West. They don't want to do that again, Gordy. And so all the names that you've seen pop up, whether, it was, with my website, Auburn Daily, that could confirm certain ones, and other Auburn outlets, names like Dabo Sweeney, like Luke Fickell, like Dan Lanning, like Hugh Freeze, all guys that have won with the exception of Fickell, but still a college football playoff experience. All of these guys have found success at the P5 level, doing different things in different ways. But target number one has always been Lane Kiffin. And props to John Cohen. He went out, and it's not done yet, Gordy. I think it's close, but it looks like he's going to get Lane Kiffin.
Answer this question for me, because I'm getting this question from a lot of people on the outside who are not a fan of Ole Miss or Auburn. Why would Lane Kiffin leave Ole Miss for Auburn? Some people view this as a lateral move. I know you have reasons why it's not. Just
Sure.
let the people who may say that or ask that question, let them know why.
Sure. Well, not all SEC West teams are the same. I think we all know that. Auburn has more fans than Ole Miss. Auburn has more money than Ole Miss. Auburn has a bigger stadium than Ole Miss. Auburn has better NIL opportunities than Ole Miss. Auburn has a realistic path to a championship because they've done it. Ole Miss has not. And I think that's all you really need to know, Gordy. I mean, Auburn traditionally, if you have a coach that shows up for work that's not Brian Harsin, you're going to pretty much be guaranteed a top 10 recruiting class. That's what we've seen in the past few decades, right? Gus Malzahn, no matter what he did, that 8 to 12 sweet spot. And I think Lane Kiffin can even enhance that. It may not always look like that with the transfer portal era, but there's just so much more to offer at Auburn. And talking to folks that are close to Lane Kiffin, Gordy, he wants to win a championship. And you can do it at Auburn. You can't do it at Ole Miss.
Yeah, and certainly it sounds crazy to say that, but yes, I mean, prior to Brian Harsin, the previous couple of coaches have been to a championship, played for a championship, won the SEC West. Ole Miss, it just seems like even when you have these great years like he had this year and last year at Ole Miss, you still can't get over that hump. It is still infinitely hard to win in the SEC West and win that division. And it would seem like maybe that path is a little bit clearer at Auburn.
Yeah.
And let's be real, the NIL plays a big part in this too, right?
No question about it. On to victory, the Auburn NIL collective. They've done an incredible job raising money. They've raised $13 million, Gordy, and that's before they opened up memberships to fans. And so that's before any kind of like crowdfunding. And this is something that's only going to pick up. They're going to open up corporate sponsorships sometime in the future. And so, I mean, we're talking about other ways that they can generate more money. And 90% of it, which seems to be the standard across collectives in the SEC, 90% of it obviously is all going to the players and 10% going to the folks that run this thing. So I think it's going to be a big part of all of this. And when you combine the transfer portal, that's going to be a big part as well, because it's clear that Lane Kiffin values the experiences in the portal.
Yeah, a good majority of his team at Ole Miss this year was acquired via transfer portal. Let's talk a little bit specifically on Kiffin. Has he grown? I mean, the talk all the time when he was such a young coach and coaching the Raiders, goes to Tennessee for a year. He's at USC. There's been so much talk throughout the years of immaturity, and we've seen a little bit on Twitter. He likes to have fun. He likes to troll people and all that. But
Sure.
As a head coach, it does seem like he's grown, learned from his mistakes, and man, he's doing a good job at Ole Miss.
Yeah. I ran into somebody, and this is what the typical, Auburn person that's anti Lane Kiffin would say is like, well, he was terrible at Tennessee. It's like, well, That was in what, 2009, I think, Gordy? I
Yep.
don't know about you, but I was an idiot in 2009. And I'm still like not much better, but I was way worse off. I was in like 10th grade in 2009, Gordy. So um, I don't think that really makes a ton of sense. There is a divide, I think, and a lot of it has to do with age, right? When you talk about the Auburn fan base and people that are pro Kiffin, people that are pro Carnell Williams, people that are pro Hugh Freeze, it's a little bit different how it's divided. But a lot of it has to do with age, right? A lot of the older fans in the Auburn family, they're kind of against the Lane Kiffin hire, and I think some of the newer ones, maybe folks that have become fans, around the Cam Newton era and on. They seem to be all about it, right? Slanting younger, social media heavy. But that's the reality now, right? And so I think as far as the maturity goes, I've been making the case as like that's not who he is. And then he's like doing what he did Monday night, which is objectively funny. And he's tweeting from his dog's Twitter account, like, woke up from a nap, what I missed, like I think he's just having fun. I think he's just having a whole lot of fun. And if this all does get finalized, and if Lane Kiffin's the next Auburn coach, I've prepared my listeners in the show I just recorded, Gordy. This is going to be normal. Like, this is going to be something you're going to have to run into a lot. This is who Lane Kiffin is.
Let's talk a little bit about the deadline here, because I've been saying Cadillac Williams has done a phenomenal job as the interim coach. He's rallied the troops and all this. Mm-hmm. When they say that he's prepared to step down from Ole Miss on Friday, they're playing the Egg Bowl on Thursday night, Thanksgiving night. To me, that would say you at least handcuff yourselves to him, that no matter what happens in the Iron Bowl, because I keep painting this picture, what if Cadillac wins the Iron Bowl? I mean, that to me would really put pressure on Auburn and John Cohen to say, this dude deserves a solid look at the job here. At least if Lane is already the guy in waiting on Friday, no matter what happens Saturday in the Iron Bowl, look, what's done is done.
Yeah, I think timing does matter here. I think if you're Auburn, you want the Lane Kiffin news out before the Iron Bowl. And there's some people that say it's disrespectful to Carnell Williams and the players. I don't think I entirely agree with that. I'm sure Carnell would be involved in the discussions to some extent. But I do think it's a net positive if you do that. If you can't do that for whatever reason, Gordy, you choose not to. And let's say Carnell Williams does win the Iron Bowl. I think we all agree that's a stretch. Our friends at BetOnline currently have that as a 22-point line. That'd be pretty incredible. But
hey, you know who was just a 22-point underdog? South Carolina. So
fair point. But I do think it's so tough to talk about this, Gordy, without sounding like I'm bashing Carnell Williams. And so I want to be very clear here. What he's done as an interim head coach, I think he's done a really, really good job. And I think he's done what was asked of him. And what I've said was asked of him going into his tenure as interim head coach was, hey, he needs to be a 5-hour energy for this football team to get them through the end of the year. And boy, has he done that times 10,000, right? I mean, what a shot in the arm Carnell Williams has been to this football program. He's excited the fan base. He's unified the fan base, and that's been great. And Gordy, I think we would all agree those are positive things. And those are traits that you want in your head coach. But this is where I've got to be careful when talking about Carnell Williams, because once again, I can't stress this enough. I love Carnell Williams. But talking with folks within the program, Carnell Williams is not really over the practices. Like, he's not organizing the practice. He's the voice and the face, but he's not putting together the practices and saying who's doing what and all that. He's not putting together the game plans. He's not watching tape and saying, hey, we've got to pick on, this left outside linebacker in our game plan. He's not doing that. He's the rah-rah guy, right? He's not calling plays. He's the rah-rah guy, and he's a great, great motivator. As 5 separate players, all of different position groups. Is Carnell Williams ready to be a head coach? And I assured them I would not say, hey, so-and-so told me this. And they all kind of hesitated. And they're like, I think he's done a great job. He's a great motivator. I would go to war for him any second of the day. But the general consensus is love him, probably not ready yet.
Sounds a lot like what LSU faced with Ed Ogeron a couple years ago, where he was the interim.
Sure.
People loved him. Great recruiter. Very rah-rah guy. Not so much X's and O's. And it worked because they had an elite level OC and DC under him. Could that happen with Cadillac? One last thing, Zach, before we wrap things up. Let's say things do go south, and let's say this was all a ruse. Let's say it was all bad rumors, and Lane stay and put it Ole Miss, and he's not playing for Auburn. Give me a couple names, because I've seen Hugh Freeze's name thrown out there, and basically some people saying Hugh will take either the Auburn or the Ole Miss job. He doesn't care. He'll take either one. Give me a name or two that realistically could end up being the Auburn coach if it's not Kiffin.
Yeah, you got to think if it's not Kiffin, Hugh Freeze probably gets a call relatively quick after that. I've been told, I keep hearing the name Fickle when I ask people kind of other names to keep an eye out on. And then I think the Dabo thing has died down a little bit. I don't know. I think there was deeper things with Dabo. I think he wanted to send a message to Clemson and to the rest of the college football saying like, hey, if Clemson's not going to leave the ACC, I will. That's personally what I think Dabo was doing there, which is smart. I get it. But Fickle and Freeze are two names that aren't going away. And I thought I thought Fickle would. I thought Freeze would be around and always be the backup plan. But yeah, Luke Fickle, that name has surprised me. But my gut says Freeze would be the next call.
And Fickle's done a great job at Cincinnati. And of course, Hugh Freeze, Liberty beating Arkansas a few weeks ago. And he's done a fantastic job after losing Malik Willis to the draft. So
Sure.
It really is. I think you can't go wrong with any of them. Will it be Lane? We'll be talking about it here. And of course, Zach will have you covered over on Locked On Auburn as well. Zach, really appreciate you taking some time, man. And we'll talk again soon.
Thanks, Gordy. You're the man.
All right. Zac Blackerby there, host of Locked On Auburn. Can't thank you guys enough for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. For your next listen, check out the Locked On Sports Today podcast, the biggest stories of the day, plus instant reactions, game recaps, and the take of the day, available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Chris Gordy. This has been Locked On SEC. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow.